I think the advice that I would give at the moment is that the RGP do want the victims to know that they are there for them, that they're not isolated, that they're not abandoned, and that they will respond to their call and they will respond to it sensitively, and they will try to protect the victim as much as they can. That they are able to refer to social services, who will also take safeguarding children and victims very seriously, and that they could possibly signpost people into counselling and things like that. So my advice is for people to contact these people in the case of an emergency. I think what we have to do is try to have a plan in action. So in the moment that there is calmness, because there is periods of calmness, victims know that we have the abuse, then we have the loving moments. So in that loving moment, try to have a plan in place. Can you form a network of who to go to? Have you got a close friend or a close relative that you can find in? Could you send them a password via a WhatsApp message?
And of course, domestic violence is a global issue and one that affects people worldwide. The government in France have recently announced that they will fund hotel rooms for victims of domestic abuse during lockdown. What support is available here in Gibraltar? What help can people get locally if they're finding themselves in this kind of situation?
Well, this is a really another tough question, because we already know that Gibraltar doesn't have a safe place for victims to go. We know that there's a women's refuge, which is full occupancy. I don't think it's run by any government, so we don't have any clear referral pathway into the women's refuge, plus the fact that everybody knows where the women's refuge is. So should a victim go there, the perpetrator would be able to find them quite easily if they wanted to. I think that this is an area that the government seriously needs to look at, especially now in lockdown, because if the victim does phone the police, then they are at risk of the perpetrator harming them more or getting angry with them. So, like you said, in France, if the hotels are offering rooms, well, we know at the moment that hotels are not being used. So could that be a resource that the government pulls on? I think that would be a fantastic idea, but it is one that I think the RGP, social services and the government need to be looking at now and not wait any longer, because we don't know how long this lockdown will go on for.
And you yourself are a survivor, but you've made it through, you're out the other side. What advice would you give to someone who's going through what you went through?
That you understand these are really difficult times, that I know it's an emotional roller coaster, that I know you feel alone, that there's no one to reach out to, that this has not been something that's just suddenly happened. It can be slowly occurring over the years, gradually building up and gradually increasing. So it's almost become a norm to your life, but it's not. So try to think about the things that I said before. Try to reach out to a friend, to a relative. Let's try to break down them walls of where you feel ashamed and where you feel embarrassed. Try to stay strong. Remember, people who suffer domestic abuse, they are strong, they are tough, and they are resilient, and they are good at managing ways of coping with different situations. You have to remember that and give yourself a pat on the back and love yourself. And remember, the only person who is responsible for somebody's behaviour is themselves. They are in control of their own behaviour. You do not deserve to be at the end of any emotional, psychological, financial, physical, any emotional abuse. Use your friends.